Hello everyone, welcome to AtomPRO Podcast. This is our new season, 8 years of nuclear excellence. And today we are going to start our second episode, Project ITER. Today I'm your host, Suhaila Budif, a Russian nuclear education ambassador, and with our prominent speaker, Alexander Petrov, head of communication of Project Center ITER Rosatom. We're going to discuss today with our audience how we can create a sun on Earth.
Hello, thank you very much. Very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us in this podcast. Me, myself, and the students and all our listeners are eager to know more about the project with you. So, can you please tell us a bit about your job role and your role in this big project?
I'm truly happy to speak out now because, really 80 years of nuclear excellence, 80 years of Russian nuclear industry. It's a very remarkable date. And fusion energy we're speaking about now today is really an inevitable part of Russian nuclear project, speaking globally, so to say. Well, fusion energy, what it is? It's a reaction that powers sun and other stars of the universe. We are all pretty well acquainted with the traditional nuclear reaction, which is split of heavy nucleus with the emission of huge amounts of energy, correct?
Yeah.
All our NPPs all around the world, all our research reactors are working on this principle, on this reaction. What is fusion? Fusion is quite the same, but vice versa. Fusion energy is a combining of lighter nuclei with the emission of even greater amounts of power. And this is completely the reaction that happens in the core of the sun, in core of other stars of the universe. This is why we're saying that fusion energy, implementing it here on Earth, on our planet, is creating an artificial sun, so to say. And I must confess, and I must say it's no secret that fusion investigation, fusion research has been conducted throughout several decades. And the first resultive and effective attempts to master this reaction, this principle happened in the Soviet Union, correct, absolutely, in mid-50s of the last century, or the previous century. So we were, so to say, pioneers of fusion research. And it was in the Soviet Union that the tokamak system was invented and introduced and first ever created. And this is why we are so proud of being those pioneers of fusion research, of fusion program, and of being inventors of the key fusion technologies. Why it is not limited to tokamaks. We can also find other technologies of mastering fusion energy, so-called stellarators, open catchers, laser fusion, etc. But it was tokamak that proved its capability of bringing us to mastering fusion.
Yes, and here comes with this beginning lots of questions about the past, so our audience could understand better how this scientist came to this idea of the tokamak. What is it exactly?
Yeah, I understand your question, and thank you for it, because it gives me freedom and space for speaking for some time, bringing you new ideas, bringing you maybe new knowledge for those who are not acquainted with the idea.
Especially the tokamak itself, the word is Russian.
Absolutely, and by the way, it is the word that doesn't need any translation. It's pretty well acquainted all around the world. So all those fusion machines of those types are called tokamaks, whether in Chinese, in European languages, and in Japanese, and all languages all around the world. Everyone calls them tokamak. What is tokamak? It's an acronym that stands for toroidal chamber with magnetic coils. In Russian, it's toroidальная камера с магнитными катушками. Toroidal chamber with magnetic coils. What it means? In order to have a fusion reaction done, we need extra high temperatures. Otherwise, those nuclei cannot get together because of the Coulomb repulsion. They just fly away from each other, you know. Yes. And in order to avoid this, in order to overcome this principle, we need extra high temperatures. In the core of the sun, the temperature is around 15 million degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. And so we're speaking about millions degrees of temperature. And we can understand completely well that there is no material in the world, at least we don't know such a material that can withstand such temperatures. Everything will just go to dust in microseconds or even faster. And the invention and the principle of tokamak was that if there is no material that can withstand such temperatures, we need to avoid the contact, the interaction between extra high temperature plasma and the material. This is why in a tokamak, plasma core burning inside a vacuum vessel is, so to say, kept in the middle of this chamber by extra strong magnetic system. And it allows, this approach allows to avoid this interaction of plasma and first wall interaction. You understand that's the principle. It took me, I think, 1 minute just to describe this. But it takes scientists and researchers and engineers several decades to realize, to implement this. And throughout the history of fusion research, I must say that more than 300 tokamaks have been constructed all around the world. So the Russian invention, tokamak, has been multiplied, you know, and so to say, conquered the world, the fusion world, because it proved that it is the most advanced and the most promising system.
Yes, while you're describing and explaining it, my mind is trying to imagine it, and it sounds really huge. Like imagining how the energy, the fusion, how the nuclei get to be fused together to create a much higher energy, the energy that we put into this system to create an even higher energy. It's really outstanding. How did the scientists came to this idea? And when did they come to it? And what was the need for it?
Well, first of all, to start with, I must say that throughout the history of mankind, people just wanted to understand how universe works, how things are done. This is called physics. And those fusion reactions, those fusion real has always been, you know, such a trigger for researchers to understand why does sun burn? Why do we have heat and why do we have light? When they understood and realized and theorized it just on paper, you know, they started to find a solution how to just put it together and how to implement it practically. Because it's one thing that you make a theory and you just get a Nobel Prize or whatever, but it's quite other thing when you prove it with an experiment.
When you try to bring this imagination into reality.
Absolutely correct.
Yes.
Absolutely correct. And the first, you know, it was a very exciting and interesting story, dates back to 1950. So 75 years ago, you know, we speak, 75 years ago. Impressive,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's amazing.
A Soviet surgeon who served as a radio man on the island of Sakhalin, it's far east of Russia.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a higher education. This is very important. This is very thrilling, by the way, and impressive. And he wrote a letter to General Secretary Stalin with an explanation of his approach. So, what I have just explained, if we cannot afford plasma interact with the first wall, with the material border, let's avoid this touch, let's avoid this contact. And he, in his letter, he described this principle with two electrostatic grids and sent this letter to Stalin. And I really cannot imagine how this letter wasn't just thrown away, put into trash, put in somewhere. It came to our distinguished scientists, Igor Tam, academician, and the future academician Andrei Sakharov. They really very high evaluated and estimated the creativity of this young talents, physical talents, Oleg Lavrentiev. They reworked a little bit, so significantly reworked, but they left the principle, the basic principle of no interaction principle. I mean, and this brought to appearance and to implementation of the first Soviet tokamak prototype in 1954. Since then, since 1954, we can say that we practically proved that we were right. And the principle and the reaction is like this. And since then, the history has shown that tokamak really is the most promising and advanced technology. And I date back to another milestone in fusion research. It was, also a very, very exciting story. I just can't help telling you this. It was 1968 in Novosibirsk, the Fusion Energy Conference, guided by IAEA. The same one just ended in China this year, just a week ago or some. In 1968, excuse me, yeah, it was in Novosibirsk, and all the scientists came there from all around the world, the leading groups of researchers with the reports, with the latest accomplishments, with the approaches, with the future plans, and so on. And the Soviets, the group of Soviet scientists, reported on a revolutionary results done on T3 tokamak at Kurchatov Institute. So the plasma heated by up to 10 million degrees Celsius with 10 milliseconds of plasma burn period. For those who are involved, now it seems funny.
Yes.
But for that time, it was a revolution.
Of course.
No one could ever get close to those results. But we have already reported about them. And our British colleagues, they didn't trust. They say, no, it sounds ridiculous a little bit. And next year, they came to the Soviet Union, to Moscow, to Kurchatov Institute. They rented a charter board and brought some 5 tons of experimental equipment with them, the diagnostic complex, to prove or to better reject these results,
Yes.
And they didn't get 10 million degrees. They got 11.7, even greater. And since then, the tokamak construction boom, like we call it, started all around the world. Because it was tokamak that proved that it not only exists and gives us fusion reaction, but it's the most promising technology. And all the world started constructing tokamaks. As I have already mentioned, some 300 and plus tokamaks have already been constructed all around the world. So you understand this point. I put a stress on this historical point because it really gives us understanding why this project, ITER, I'm working for, is also a tokamak. And I would like to speak, to get a little bit even deeper in the history, to highlight another historical event that, divided the world for before and after, like we say it in Russian.
Yes.
It was, you can cut it out from your podcast if you are not interested.
No, but I think most important you mentioned in what you have said is that the contribution between scientists and the government, how the government gave the opportunity for the scientist in Sakhalin and listen to him, to his letter, to try it into the experiments, to prove forward and believe in his idea, to use it further. That even brought like excitement to other British scientists who came here also to try it. So that's the role of the organizations that help and believe in scientists to create these imaginative big ideas.
Well, when we are speaking about mega science projects, and fusion is no doubt a mega science class project. I don't mean only the ITER project, but fusion in general. Of course, it must be in order for it to be a success, there should be always a huge and unbreakable support by the government, by each government, because nowadays we have a lot of startups in America, in Europe, in Japan, fusion startups, which are very promising, really very promising, and very thrilling and exciting projects. They implement them with the private investments and all this stuff. But if we are speaking about such huge projects like ITER, like major fusion labs in China, in Japan, Europe, Russia, they cannot be implemented without strong and continuous governmental support. And there is one more thing I would like to highlight in this aspect, that this is why I wanted to go a little deeper into history. Because it is also this can give us understanding of why we are there where we are now. It's about international cooperation. Try to imagine, it's 1956. 1956. Well, I believe all our Russian followers pretty well know that it was the point of so-called Cold War. Cold War, this, I wouldn't say struggle, but maybe it's the correct word, but it's the tension between, the collective West and the Soviet bloc. So it was very, very intense. And 1956, a Soviet delegation comes to England, to the research, big research center, nuclear research center in Harwell. And Igor Kurchatov, you pretty well know who he is, who he was. He comes up with an idea. You can imagine a huge conference room, crowded with people, because it's something unusual, it's something special, extraordinary, that the Soviet delegation with Kurchatov comes to the British Research Center, and he comes up with the idea. Let's declassify our fusion research results. It was silence in the room, because people first of all thought, I believe, that an interpreter made a mistake, some kind of, or Igor Kurchatov is making jokes, or it's some kind of misunderstanding, or what? How declassify? We are in the Cold War.
Because usually at that time people think that each side wants to hide
the
science for itself.
Everything is top secret. Everything is hidden. Everything is secret. And Kurchatov says vice versa. Let's declassify everything.
Because we're
on a mutual approach. We declassify our research, yours, in the field of fusion research. You know why he did it? Because he completely well realized he was a person who was thinking not for decades, but for centuries ahead. And he pretty well understood at that time that fusion energy is a project globally, a project of such scale of complexity that no country, however technically, economically, scientifically it is developed, and it is huge, cannot resolve this target, this project, this task on its own. There is no such country that could do it by itself. And there are two options. Otherwise, the first option, we just making secret research in our countries with tiny results, or we combine our efforts and moving forward. And he suggested to move forward together. And this was accepted by the world, by the whole world. Since then, they started the international cooperation in the fusion research. And this is why we are now there where we are.
This is great, like how we can see, how we can reach the peace and the collaboration of different nations, different cultures, different identities into one clear goal, which is to use science, to dedicate science and focus on it to reach one goal for all of us, for the good of the whole world and for our future. And this is how we study and understand from the past to rely on our present and go to the future. So this project, as I have understood, when Mr. Kurchatov led to it, he suggested to create the ITER project.
ITER, as it is now, was suggested a little bit later. It was actually proposed by our distinguished academician Velikhov. Exactly. It was 1985 when Gorbachev became head of our state, of the Soviet Union, and he had his first official visit in his new position to his French vis-a-vis, François Mitterrand, who was at this time point president of France. And as you might know, Gorbachev came with those ideas of perestroika, of rebuilding and reconstructing our global cooperation, democracy, all this stuff. And he needed some kind of idea to present to his French colleague, French president. And of course, his advisors offered him many proposals, and academician Velikhov told, okay, Mikhail Sergeyevich, dear director, dear General Secretary, we, via our close international cooperation, via this active development on fusion technologies all around the world, we obtained a huge bank of knowledge how fusion should be. Mm-hmm. Why not constructing a new generation tokamak? What I mean, new generation tokamak, all the machines, all the facilities ever constructed in the world, including those most advanced that were constructed several years ago or are to be constructed in future, they have energy loss. What I mean, the reaction itself to happen there consumes more energy than it gives,
and that's not our goal.
And yeah, exactly. This is completely fine if we speak about science,
yes,
like naked science, because we just study the world, we study the universe, the processes, study physics. But it doesn't work if we are speaking about a new source of energy based yes, on fusion principles.
Yeah.
And ITER, proposed in 1985, is the machine that should give us positive outcome, net outcome.
So
it should give us at least 10 times as much as we put into the machine to make the reaction happen. Mm-hmm. So this is the key task of ITER, to show it that it is possible. And this will give the way to fusion energy to be the energy source, completely new one for us. This is the ITER project key task and goal.
And where is the project located, ITER?
The project, I will speak a little bit about it, is located and is being implemented together by 7 members, and those are 35 nations: the European Union,
Yes.
China, India, Japan, Korea, Russian Federation, and the US. 35 nations. More than half of the Earth population lives there in those nations. There is no more such an example in science and technology that could unify and combine so many people involved in implementing the single project. You know, it's absolutely unique, and it is being implemented in the south of France. Of course, when there was a discussion about where to build it, there were a lot of proposals from America, from Russia, from Europe, India, Japan, all the states involved. And there was a long list and short lists, you know, and in the end we came to south of France as the most appropriate location for it to be implemented.
And it's amazing and pretty impressive how all these nations gather on one goal, creating more energy 10 times higher than what we give it, because usually sometimes we people are greedy, we want more electricity.
Oh yeah, more and more. You know?
Yeah, we need more electricity, not enough for us the nuclear reactors or the fuels or the solar energy.
Otherwise we will not be able to communicate, because cameras need also some energy.
Yes, exactly. So it's impressive how they all gather despite any of other issues happening around or difference in cultures, and how now in the currently in the present, these communities or these nations connect through work together. Like they work together, scientists gather there, or each work on their country, and then they brought their knowledge into south of France.
Thank you. I will explain. First of all, in 2006, an international agreement was signed on creation of the International ITER organization. It has its headquarters right there at the construction site. It's big, it's pretty large. So the core is there. Mm-hmm. And the governance of the ITER project is also there, of course. Vice versa, each participant, each member of the project has its own national ITER agency. We call it ITER domestic agency. Why? I will explain. The main contribution of each member manifests itself in development, fabrication, and delivery to the construction site of the equipment. So this is the main contribution. For example, in Russia, we have to develop, manufacture, and deliver 25 extra high technology, high-tech systems of the future machine. Of course, all is being done in full compliance with a very tough schedule. Over 50 major Russian institutes, research centers, industries are involved into this process. Over 50. Those are industries of the state corporation, Rosatom, research centers of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Kurchatov Institute, all other major industries and centers involved in manufacturing all those systems under Russian responsibility. And we deliver them to France. In order to make governance of this process, in order to keep our eye on it, each project member state has its domestic agency, ITER domestic agency. We, Institution Project Center ITER of Rosatom, are the Russian ITER domestic agency here. Mm-hmm. And we just make a guidance of all these processes happening in our country within the ITER project. And also, of course, keeping on answering to your question, I must say that we have absolutely unbreakable communication with our colleagues all around the world. I mean, the ITER project, within the ITER project, because we always have our business travels. We invite our colleagues and inspectors from the ITER organization there to attend our industries. We always have conferences. We always talk to each other. Sometimes, frankly speaking, I have so many those conferences, talks, negotiations, all this stuff. Come on, let's stop a little. Let's make a break, okay? ITER is cool, but let's make a break.
Let's chill down the energy.
Yeah, exactly. That's for sure. But this is, like an illustration that the processes are keeping going on, and this is what thrills me most of all about ITER project, that all the nations learned how to work together. And we must keep in our minds that those are nations representing completely different, I would say, civilizations.
Yes, exactly.
India, China, Japan, Europe, Russia, Korea, US, they have quite different approaches, they have quite different cultures, they have quite different manners of negotiation. And my favorite metaphor related to the ITER project, it's like Babylon Tower, but from upside down.
Upside down,
yeah. You know this Bible story,
yes,
when the people got different languages and the construction just stopped because they couldn't understand each other, stopped understanding each other. ITER did quite the opposite thing. ITER brought together people from quite different civilizations and taught them to work together and to speak figuratively same language. This is maybe the comparable result of the ITER project, comparable to its scientific goals,
Yes, that's a perfect example to show the whole world how we can all communicate, focusing on science and imagination, the energy that drives us to work on that dream, to make energy more for us. And this brings me to the question that I wanted to ask. What motivates Russian specialists and scientists, physicists, chemists to work on this project? Why do they want, as I know that ITER project is being built on the design of the tokamak, the Russian one. What motivates them the most? Because it's their own design?
You have just stolen a joker from my sleeve, It's like So let's start from the beginning. Yeah. First of all, you're absolutely right that ITER is a tokamak. Tokamak was invented in the Soviet Union, like we just talked about and discussed it. First thing. Second thing, that the initiative of bringing scientists together to implement such huge project
also comes.
First Kurchatovs and then Velekhov's speaking about the ITER project itself.
Yes.
So the technology is Russian, initiative is Russian. Russia manufactures 25 systems. 3 of them have already been realized and sent to the construction site. What makes our scientists keep on working for ITER, keep on dreaming of fusion, implementing our domestic fusion technologies and projects? First of all, it's a huge, tremendous experience in the fusion research that we have obtained throughout those decades of the research done here domestically. Of course, as we said, we are pioneers, we are the champions.
We are the best.
And this experience gives us understanding of necessity of this kind of research. No one should persuade us that, okay, fusion is such an important thing. We completely understand it.
We completely need it.
Yes, exactly. And we understand it pretty well. So this is all those traditions, all those experience gathered, all those generations of scientists that were brought up with this idea gives us understanding and the power, to bring this project to life.
And like during the creation of this project right now, as we see that the history, what motivated it was the Soviet Union era, the science back then during the Cold War, how it motivated the peaceful use of atom, how it brought us here to this ITER project, and how long will it take till we see the ITER project bottling the sun?
Bottling the sun. That's
Yes.
interesting. No, by the way, really, sun in a bottle is one of joke slogans of the ITER project, I would say.
Yes.
Sun in a bottle, really. I saw it. I can easily answer to a question. Now we're working according to the new baseline. Baseline is the strategic plan, which consists of the work scope, money, and timing. And according to the new 2024 baseline, we will have our first deuterium full-scale fusion experiments on the border of 2034-35. So it's just 9-10 years ahead. And scientifically speaking, mega scale scientifically speaking, it's absolutely tomorrow.
It's pretty close.
Yeah,
but
that's what I say.
When we speak about the science, this mega science and this energy, this plasma and all the design, how it consumes it requires so much energy, high temperature. My inner engineer personality start thinking, what are the materials can handle this type of energy and this types of high temperature? I assume that the materials needed is far away also higher, and needs to be in higher characteristics and better characteristics to give us a better result. So how does this work? What are the main things and the technologies used for
I
the
understand.
materials?
I understand. Thank you very much. You're not only a dreamer. You're also think very practically.
Yes.
That thrills me. Yeah. I need to switch, my brain from dreams to practical
Yes.
implementation. Yeah, but I will. Don't think you put me in the lock. No. You're absolutely right. That taking the temperature pulses, taking the temperature loads, the neutron loads, and all this stuff related to the implementation of each huge fusion project. The most complicated and head-breaking issues is the choice of materials that could withstand those loads. And for ITER, for many years, we were relying on beryllium for the first wall cover, due to some properties of this metal. But we have a French nuclear regulator that is pretty much afraid of using beryllium due to its dust toxicity. This is why all the major in-vessel plasma-facing components, speaking about first wall panels and diverter, will be made out of tungsten. So the tungsten is a very good metal, but it might bring us impurities. This is why now in Russia, right now, we are conducting, by the order and by contract with the ITER organization, we are conducting a series of research on some kind of cover of the tungsten first wall to avoid those impurities. So it's a very, very complicated task. I must say that everything related to ITER is very, very complicated. There is no simple things related to ITER.
Yes.
Superconductors was creating them, and out of 7 partners, 6 were manufacturing superconductors. It's the world greatest, hugest superconducting order for ITER. And we all cope with this task, So we speak about superconductors, we speak about tungsten and its rapid change from beryllium to tungsten. We speak about additional heating, we speak about extra high vacuum, we speak about cryogenic systems, and all those with the starter extra, extra everything. So you can use like a slogan, ITER, extra everything.
Yes, because when we dream higher, when we reach for bigger aims, it requires from us to do even more. And we need also to invest more on our energy, getting our superconductors, materials, and everything, coverage, like from head to toe, as we say. So I assume that it even takes a lot of energy to create the materials needed to create the ITER project. And that's why I can say that we need to replicate more tokamaks, maybe, to create more tokamaks.
You're bringing it to meta level, I would say. No, I would have a little bit another answer to your question, and I would look at it from another side. Why is ITER so complicated? Because ITER is the first machine ever with such parameters on its goal tasks. We have never created anything so complicated, so huge, and so important. This is why it is so hard to create, because we are, it's like, try to imagine that you come to some room and you open a door and there is a dark space inside this room,
Yeah.
and you don't know what is there. You can theoretically think, oh, it should be something like a ceiling, something like a floor here, some walls maybe, but you don't know because you have never seen what's inside. That's what we are doing now. We, of course, have everything in theory. We have decades of research. We have brightest brains involved in the project. We have mathematical accountings. We have 3D models. We have everything, but we don't have practical proof. ITER will be practical proof. This is why we double and triple check every system. We, quality assurance and quality control regulations are so dramatic that our manufacturers come on, please make them easier. We're standing on our knees begging you for mercy. Please, but we say no, we should be sure about every bolt used in the construction, all the stuff.
Safety comes first.
Absolutely, and the reliability. That's for ITER. But ITER is to show us how we should do and what we shouldn't do, where we are mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we count on this and this systems, but excuse me, no, our experiment on ITER shows that we should just rework our approach in this aspect, in this issue. And all. When ITER shows it all, we come to a new era. We come to new understanding of how it should be, how it all should be. And of course, and while we are already having all our industries just ready to move ahead. This means that later fusion machines will be much cheaper and much easier because we now will have all the understanding. So this is the key point. ITER, of course, ITER is it's a technical masterpiece. But then there will be copies. We already know how to do. We will know. We will have no need in such amounts of diagnostic complexes. In ITER, we will have 50 plus, because we need to know every Dreaming parameter of plasma burning, of everything happening inside the machine, and we will not have any, any window inside it to look at. There is plasma. Oh, everything is good. Yes, let's have lunch. No, it doesn't work. We need extra high systems, extra complicated and sophisticated technical systems to measure parameters. ITER plasma will be heated up to 300 million degrees. 300 million degrees. And we need to measure the temperature. We need to measure every impurity, every distribution of atoms inside it. How to do it, diagnostics. But when we already understand how it works, then in future machines we'll have no need in so many diagnostics, just the key ones for key parameters and all this stuff. It's related to material. You're absolutely right for just introducing this idea and bringing it up. When we really tackle those materials, and yes, we prove that tungsten with this cover withstands the temperatures, withstands the neutron loads. Yes, of course, we already have our industries ready to move on. We already have understanding, technologies, quality programs. Everything goes smooth.
And right now, like I have been through our conversation with imagining how the history was, how we came up with the idea of the tokamak. And I say we because it feels like, I know the Russians the one who created, but sometimes because I'm too much into science, studied myself physics and math here in Russia, so it feels for me like I felt I can do like part of this community, part of the scientists and physicists around, and seeing the history, feeling the present now can't stop me from looking into the future. How, as you mentioned, there are gonna be more tokamaks around the world. We will have so many energy. I stop. No one can stop our energy from chilling down. But what do you think how the future will look like? As I said, for me, lots of tokamaks around.
Well, my anticipation of future related to the fusion, the global fusion programs, is definitely based on this new energy source, because it is perfect one.
Mm-hmm. So we prove it works in the ITER, then we get to modify it, like we can reproduce the same project with its big mega scale, or we can reproduce many projects of it.
I would say for ITER, why it is so huge? Because in order for it to give us Q equal 10, which I mean the ratio of energy gathered to the energy put in, we need it to be large. We need the plasma density, we need temperatures, all other parameters. This is why it is so huge. But technology doesn't stand still. Technology develops. And when we are ready to produce and use new, for example, high temperature superconductors, despite low temperature superconductors for ITER and at ITER, liquid lithium first wall, for example, like we plan in our TRT machine, future machine in Russia here. All other stuff, all extra heating systems, many others. We of course count on descaling it, so building tokamaks of energy producing tokamaks of not so huge scale, because yes, in energy ITER is extremely large, but ITER has another goal to show. After it shows, we can we can now do it with it. But for me, okay, if it will be ITER scale, okay, why not? Why shouldn't we then? Because it's absolutely safe, it's environmentally friendly, it's absolutely universal. Like I say, you can just construct it in Sahara or in Antarctica, wherever you need it. And it doesn't depend on any geographical or temperature conditions, any other, just wherever we need it, and as many as we need, energy as many can be built.
Yeah, so like now, as we also this year celebrating 80 years of nuclear excellency, we are starting to dream, get inspired, and look into the future, our future. So let's say in 100 years, will we have at least 2 tokamaks in our globe?
To talk, you mean to energy producing tokamaks?
Yes, working projects tokamaks.
Yeah. Not research tokamaks, but industry scale.
Industry scale.
Yeah, tokamaks. Well, in 100 years, I think,
or even more.
I really believe we will have many more.
Many more?
Because as I have already mentioned, in 34-35, the first deuterium experiment happens at ITER. Then there will be a big campaign, a research campaign on it to just move it ahead and put it on a parameter scale. And in parallel, world will start building such machine like demo, the demonstration thermonuclear fusion power plant. So it will be the two parallel processes. We get experience from ITER and yes, now we understand, and put it here. Oh no, let's put it back. It's
trial and error.
Yeah, absolutely. And after that, when the demo gives us, like we say it in Russia, gives us fusion to the socket, then we will say that yes, this is how it works. And then we can construct as many as we need. 2 or 200 or 2 million. It depends on our energy consumption.
Yes. So do you see it as first, like the benefit will go for these 7 nations who are already, 35 nations who are working on this project, so they will duplicate it and bring it back to their homes? Or will they try to also include other countries which were not involved in this project?
Well, it depends. It depends. First of all, the idea is, I was also saying that the main contribution of countries, of the ITER members, are developing and fabricating the components, and each member develops it's like this, all the superconducting system is under European responsibility, for all the vacuum vessels under Russian responsibility, all the extra heating systems, American, let's say. Yeah. I'm just put it from my head. No, everyone has a part of everything. Let's say it. A part of vacuum technologies, a part of superconducting technologies, a part of diagnostics. So for us ITER members to tackle all the key fusion technologies and to develop them domestically. And of course, and this is very important speaking about ITER, that every member contributing, for example, 9.9% of the ITER cost gets 100 of know-how, technologies, and the processes. So Russia contributes 9.09 of the ITER costs. But we get everything, every single knowledge from the whole project, which means that yes, we then after that can build as many demos, as many working power plants based on fusion domestically here, or to build them all around the world, whoever needs them. Like, the state corporation Rosatom construct dozens of power plants units in the world, in Europe and China, wherever, in Asia, of course, wherever. What stops us from constructing fusion power plants afterwards, after we tackle this, master this technology? Quite the same.
Yes, we can go even higher.
Yes,
maybe build on the moon.
Yeah. This is another topic. We'll speak about it also.
Yes, and like also for all the students and school students that are listening to us and usually get also asking, get questions from students. What should I study, or what specialists are needed, for example, in such field? For the ITER, what specialists are needed? What they should study to take part in this cutting edge technology? And of course, later, I'm seeing it coming soon to be like tokamaks everywhere. What type of engineers do they need to be?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that, yeah. By the way, it's a very interesting and urgent question, because ITER project is a project of such a complexity that doesn't limit to fusion specialists, yes, or nuclear physicists,
or high plasma only.
Yeah, exactly. ITER needs welders. ITER needs machine operators. ITER needs accountants, legal specialists, whoever. And if you come to the ITER website, they regularly update their list of vacancies. And if you study it and if you monitor this, you will see vacancies from, you know, dozens of branches, of fields. I say not limited to those very narrow specialities. So of course, if you want to be an ITER or let's say fusion researcher or a part of any fusion project, you should have at least understanding of what fusion is, of how it works. For instance, by education, I'm a political scientist.
That's also needed.
Yeah,
very needed.
Yeah,
to organize, to coordinate all the communications, the diplomatic connections
absolutely,
with other colleagues and agencies.
And sometimes we really, after some lectures and after some communications, people ask me, what technical university did you graduate from? I said, none, excuse me, please.
ITER.
Yes, ITER. My specialty is ITER. Yeah, right, exactly. So I suggest to all our followers, listeners, watchers, students who are interested in this branch, I suggest them to make up their minds and
love
come
what they
to
do.
This is for
have
sure.
Have the passion.
Yes, but what I mean that major Russian institutes and higher education universities, they have plasma physics branches inside institutes, specialties, yes, and so on, where specialists of all kinds are taught and are prepared. And of course, while implementing our national program of fusion research, now it's within the national project of the Russian Federation, this issue and this branch, this field of research, this field of education will be supported and will be further developed. So I try to, not to persuade, because persuasion doesn't work in such projects. I try to make them understand, our listeners and the students who are just on points of bifurcation. I try them to understand, to make them understand that fusion is really future. We are now at the halt point, at the historical moment when we, there's just, we can do it. Now we can do it. And while we do, the world changes. This is why, just please be part of this.
Be part
world.
of the change.
Yeah.
Yes, and what inspires me the most about the nuclear field, the fusion now especially, is that it cannot work only with one specialty. It needs different specialities, and it needs accountants, economists, every type of them, seeing all of this around, again, unites on one cause, creating the future. And what inspired you after you studied political sciences, right?
Well,
to work in this field?
It's a very good question, But for me, it's easy to reply to that, because I was born and I grew up in the scientist family because my grandfather was a very distinguished scientist, also in fusion world. Yes, and my father paid and dedicated more than half a century to Kurchatov Institute. And frankly speaking, I have always been admired by. I have always been just charmed with the mega scale science, mega project in science, because we, the world, mankind, we entered the mega science era. Science is no more, tiny secret rooms, laboratories where people just secretly on the top secret and restricted and just make some tiny things which can I don't know,
make small bombs
the way. Yeah. No, it's no more.
Yes.
We are dealing with so complicated and so universal matters, then we need extra huge machines, extra complicated technologies. We need super advanced approaches. And we can only implement them and tackle them and face them when we work together, when we exchange our experience and make something together. So this is mega science. And I have always been just charmed with this, mega science. Listen to how it sounds, And
science fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. And practically right after I graduated from my university, ITER project was launched.
Wow.
It was 2007.
It was a sign. I need to go there. Omen, my omen.
Exactly. So we don't need to look for stuff. Here's our stuff for communication.
I was born into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I didn't have any other chance, but rather to just become a part of this huge endeavor.
Yeah. Well, that's really inspiring, especially you were born knowing about the fusion, the nuclear sciences. It's really cool, and how you tackled it through your profession, how to find ways to help this field through political science. It's also not an easy thing to do. Not a lot of people know how to merge or inspire their own profession to help other sciences, which is actually the integration of sciences is really needed.
Synergy.
Yes, synergy. And what advice would you like to give to other people and audience watching us right now when they are trying to look to study into fusion? Should we be a bit scared? Because at least when we dream about big things, there's a small part of us that be like, oh, but I'm a bit scared that this may not happen.
I would have 3 pieces of advice.
Yes.
The first one is be brave. When you make a mistake and you understand that, it's very cool. It may be despairing a little bit, but it's cool. When you don't do any mistake, and you see another does the same thing without any mistake, you always think, I could be at his place, I could be in his shoes. And this is a lost chance. Not to lose chance, we just need to be brave. The second piece of advice is we need to be clever enough, because what I mean, there will be always people who will say, come on, what are you doing? Just do banking, do sailing, you'll just earn much more. This thing will, if it works, it will bring you any results in half a century. Be clever enough to understand that without you, it will happen not in a half a century, in 1.5. And the second piece of advice, be funny enough to take everything as humor, because without humor, no great things happens.
Thank you so much.
That's from my part.
I myself will use these advices. Yeah, we need to be brave enough to chase our dreams. And I believe even if we make mistakes, we at least learn what we have done wrong. We build on our past, look at our present, and take a look how we can change our future. Thank you so much for being today with us, and I personally give you our gratitude for sharing this knowledge, this energy with us to inspire other students, for us all to get to know more about this incredible project.
Watch the news, and thank you very much for having me there. It was a very interesting conversation. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. And you guys, please write us in the comments. What are your ideas? What inspired you the most? If you have any questions, and tell us what other topics would you like to know more about. And don't forget to put like if you liked it, and also share it with your friends and your group mates.